clear about where we're spending our time and energy.
Nice. I think just for you, Joe, like I know may have missed it on some of Wes's early slides that he was just sharing to himself. But, you know, obviously when it comes to footy, you know, we sort of look at it as the battleground, and in the course they talk about, you know, Wes talks about the battleground, so the field of emotion. So, and that's kind of sourced by 4 different voices. We have our own voice, other voices, and then there's the good and the bad voices. And I guess like all sports, there's always going to be those external voices, you know, spectators, media, things like that. And then I guess the analogy that we sort of used, and Wes touched on it again, was around the good wolf, you know, and the bad wolf. What was that sort of, you know, journey or process like for you? Was it quite easy to, you know, feed the good wolf? Were there many external voices when you were playing? Did you have ways to channel, you know, those voices out?
If you're playing NRL, you definitely can have external voices. I think for me, I'll just go to one. Like I'm a pretty resilient person by nature. I think you know, things don't really kind of bother me too much. But I did go through a period where I was going through. I think I was at South at the time, and I was going through some contractual, you know, stuff with the club. But then, you know, for me, there was what was just the voice in me was saying, you know, and again, I'm like a resilient person, but also I'm someone that also doesn't want to ask for help or be a burden on anyone. And you know, for me, which is a good thing, but it's you know, blessing and a curse. But for me, at that period of time, it was something that really kind of was a kind of like a downfall. And I went through like a couple of years, a period, you know, there a couple of years where I went through some really bad mental ill health. Purely because of that trait of that voice of saying, don't go and ask for help. Or so I was going through that contract stuff, but then I had all this other stuff going on, you know, because of the contract stuff, you know, meant that, you know, I had to leave the club, taking less pay. Then I was hearing all the external voices that, you know, you were saying. And then again, I'm a pretty private person, but when all your laundry is being aired out in the public arena, that was for me, like, and my wife, you know, she could see it in my face, like, and the worst thing I was doing during that period was actually reading that stuff, you know, listening to talkback radio and them saying to me, you know, saying, oh, you know, Joe's waste of money and all this type of stuff, and you know, or reading all the forums about, you know, why we spend this X amount of money on them, and so I, you know, a lot of that, and again that, I guess bad trait of not asking for help, you know, I got in a really bad downward spiral. And then on top of that, just the anxiety, and I wasn't sleeping well. And then physically I was actually looking after myself, meant that, you know, I was sleeping 3-4 hours, going up to training around, you know, 6-7 o'clock, you know, and trying to go up for training. And, you know, I was just hooked up on, caffeine, that much caffeine, just to kind of get through the day. And then, you know, and do that, you know, again, and it was kind of like Groundhog Day. And so from the physical point of view, like I was at a really, really bad place. And again, because of, again, that voice of, hey, don't ask for help, or, you know, you're going to be sweet, you can get through this, you've gone through it before. I guess if I was to rewind it all the way back, for those that don't know, I lost my mum when I was 7 years old. And when I said earlier about there's always context to behaviour, a lot of that, for me being on my own, that, for those that know, there's a psychological paper on attachment theory. And for me, I was operating out of that, this adult, you take that right in. I took that, that independence right into my adulthood, because I hadn't dealt with things. There was all this, things bubbling under the surface, and because I was doing all these things in such a small period of time, it was just a recipe for disaster for me, and so I had a really bad mental ill health moment, and people probably didn't really see it because people would only know me as Joe with the big smile, and he's a really good dude. But behind closed doors, my wife was on here. She would definitely say that I was, a totally opposite person. But I guess what wasn't made, how I got through it was actually and again, as simple as it sounds, I actually went and asked for help. Again, I went, counted actually what I was believing, what I was thinking, and actually what I thought who I was by nature, but just by reaching out and obviously all the unconditional love that I was shown to me by my wife and those that were close to me. It was just amazing how I recovered so quick. Purely if I just asked for help and not listen to the voice, hey, no, you just battle on and do it yourself. And so yeah, that was a bit of a period of my life that I'm not proud of, but looking back at it, that really taught me so much.
Awesome, bro. Thanks for sharing, Joe. I think, and just to give people, I guess, context, like that was sort of happening around, 2006, and Joe got through that period, and the premiership that was won with Manly was in 2011, and he carried on another 2 years after that, playing footy. So mad respect, bro, and I'm glad you got through that side, and now sharing those experiences with not just us, but the next generation is going to be, so valuable for those young men.